Hello and welcome to Basic Linux course. This is the second section of this course. We are in the About section. In this section, we'll learn about Linux, Linux history, Linux and Unix, Linux distribution, and way to practice Linux. This will be a theory kind of section. We'll just simply look through the course, and for the way to practice Linux, we'll try different options. Okay, Linux. What is Linux? Linux is an operating system. Okay, an operating system is a collection of system software that interact with hardware, which provide intermediate layer between computer application and the computer hardware. Okay, Linux OS is also generally referred as GNU Linux. Linux is also a kernel. Actually, Linux is the kernel and the operating system is the GNU Linux, but we generally refer the operating system as Linux. And if we have to talk about Linux kernel, we will specify as the Linux kernel. Okay, a kernel is the core of the operating system. It provides the APIs to interact with the computer hardware and to make operating system, the kernel, along with some system software like system libraries, GUI, email utilities, and web browsers that will make the operating system. Okay, and Linux was created by Linus Torvald, and when he was a university student, he bought a personal computer, and that computer was pre-installed with the MS-DOS operating system. We want to use some operating system similar to what he used in the university, Unix-like system. But it turned out they are quite expensive, so he turned out to build Linux for himself. And on the 25th of August, announced that he will be building this kind of operating system. And on September 17th, he released the first version of the Linux. Okay, and in 1994, the version 1.0 of Linux was released. Unix is a multitasking, multi-user operating system. It was initially developed at Bell Lab by Dennis Ritchie and Ken Thompson. Okay, Unix is a proprietary system, and Linux is the clone of the Unix. Linux is the system that trying to make something similar to the Unix, but the Linux and Unix does not share any of the code base. The default shell for the Unix is Bourne shell, and for the Linux is Bash, which is also Bourne again shell. Okay, let's talk about Linux distribution. Actually, the Linux distribution are the Linux operating system. Linux distribution are the collection of the software along with the Linux kernel. Okay, and there are different Linux distribution, and each of them with their own goals, and you can use whatever distribution you like, and some are dedicated to desktop use and some are for server use. We'll mainly focus on Red Hat Linux, Enterprise Linux, and Ubuntu. Red Hat is used on banks, airlines, telecommunication, whereas Ubuntu is widely used on startups and cloud-based companies. And also this you to go with Ubuntu. If you want to work with the Red Hat system, you can use the CentOS, and there is a new something called Alma Linux. You can even try with that as well. Okay, now talking about way to practice Linux, and the best way to learn Linux is to install the Linux on your system. But if you want to try that first, we can do that on the next. And I assume most of you are from the Windows, so if you are in the window, you can use PowerShell. PowerShell also supports most of the Linux commands, and you can use install Git Bash as well. Git Bash supports wide range of Linux command, and with Windows 10 and 11, you can go with Windows subsystem for Linux, which will completely install some Linux system within the Windows environment, and another option can be VirtualBox. But I'll prefer this Windows subsystem for Linux. Then that, and if you don't prefer installing anything, we can go with some browser-based Linux system. One of them is Google Cloud. Let's test that as well. So I'll give it a try. Okay. Okay. I just tried another account. I forget the password for that. So let's start with this. Whenever you visit to this link and log in with Google, you'll get something like this. And this is system, Linux system. Yeah, you can run all of your Linux commands here. Okay. So alas, there's something to create some file. Okay, if you don't have any system to test, you don't have that Git bash or WSL system, you can just give it a try and run your command on the Google Cloud Console. Okay, so here whenever when we learn the commands and concepts, you simply can try your commands in here. And our next option is for the web. This is a game kind of project where you learn which will teach you running the Linux and using the Linux system over the web. And select this bandit. This is a fun game to learn Linux. Okay, in the level 0, there are the instructions to enter into the game, and it says to use SSH using this username and this server and the port this. Okay, you can try that on your console from your terminal if you have installed some form of system, that Windows subsystem for Linux or Git bash, or you can give it a try with this console as well. Okay, I'll try on my own terminal. We have to visit. We have to create a SSH connection with username bandit0 bandit.labs .overtheweb.org, and the port is 2220. Okay, everything's here. Okay, it will ask for the password, and the password is bandit0. Okay. Okay, now we are inside the Linux system. Okay, if you have to, you can try learning and playing around this here. You can create files here as well, and simply, okay, looks like you don't have permission to do that, but you can learn around, and there are some puzzles. Go to the page and find out how to beat level 1. Okay, as you can see, this readme, there may be something, you can read that. And there is the password. Maybe this is the password to log in to start doing level 2. Okay, in this way you can learn Linux as well as and playing the game, and you can play the game from here as well. Okay, this is the way you can learn Linux, and with the progress with the course, you can practice your Linux skill in this cell, and you're good to go. Okay, thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.